gavel. Okay. Council will come to order. All rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our veterans, servicemen and women, and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. Clerk will call the roll.
Anderson. Here. Kamel. Here. Condon. Here. Crow. Here. DeMaria. Here. Linehan. Here. Murphy. Here. O'Malley. Here. Spadafora. Winslow. Here. Sika.
Here. Okay, so we're going to take under the provisions of the open meeting law, for those of you in attendance, please be informed that MATV, along with John Mayara and Brian DeLacy, is recording this evening's meeting. Again, just be aware there will be audio and video recording of this meeting. The first order of business. We're going to go a little out of order from the docket. We have a couple of councilors that need to leave the room and attend another meeting, so we need to vote on a few issues before they do so. So we're going to go to communications. You want to read it?
28-20 communications. Planning Board communication regarding amendments of 800.2.11, Chapter 12, Revised Ordinance of 91, as amended notice requirements, City Council Paper 385-219.
We do both at the same time.
Paper 29-20 communication. Planning Board communication regarding amendments of 300.1 Chapter 12 Revised Ordinance of 1991 as amended, special permit for property determined to be preferably preserved pursuant to demolition and alteration delay ordinance, City Council Paper number 386-219.
On Councilor Crow's motion to place these communications on file, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The communications are filed. Next order of business.
Which one do you want, the committee report?
Where are they? Which one?
You got it. I got it.
I don't have 47 on
Paper,
there.
Paper 47-20, Committee Report, Rules and Ordinance, Paper 385-19, Communication for Planning Paper 28-20 regarding amendments, 800.2.11, Chapter 12, Revised Ordinance of 1991, as amended notice requirements.
On Councilor Crow's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The committee report is received. Councilor Crow for the committee. Hold on, sorry.
Thank you, Madam President, and again, apologize for delaying this and changing things around, but we need the full complement of councils to be able to vote on this. Otherwise, it kind of has to get tabled again. So we want to get these done. So this paper, we accepted the planning board recommendations is to change the notice requirements. Right now in ordinances, some are 300, some are abutters to abutters only within 300, and some are 500. So the thought process was to make them all 500 feet, including the marijuana establishments, to do their public meetings. And that really got to more residents. I think that made sense. It makes it clear that anyone that is doing a public hearing, public meeting, has to put it in the general paper for the general public to know, has to, I wrote this down, and does the notice, and that notice to 500 feet. There was a question about some areas you'll get 500 people, properties, or maybe less than that, but in some areas you don't get as many, but that's because it's not as dense and it doesn't restrict that. So we thought the 500 feet really gives a good broad mailed notice to the people that are immediately affected by any of those decisions being made. So we accepted the planning board's recommendations, that accepted those recommendations. So I make a motion that we enroll.
On Councilor Crow's motion to enroll the ordinance as amended, the clerk will call the roll.
Anderson.
Yes.
Kamel.
Yes.
Condon.
Yes.
Crow.
Yes.
DeMaria. Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy. O'Malley.
Yes.
Winslow.
Yes.
Sika.
Yes. Councilor Crow. Quick question.
Yes.
Are you looking to ordain these tonight as well?
We can hold off on that. We tried
Okay.
not to do that.
Okay,
Don't
great.
hold it up any further.
Next order of business. Next paper is 4920? 4820? Yep.
Paper 4820, Committee Report, Rules and Ordinance, Paper 386-19, Communication from Planning Board 29-20 regarding amendments 300-1, Chapter 12, Revised Ordinances of 1991 as amended by special permit for property determined to be preferably preserved pursuant to demolition and alteration delay ordinance, Paper 386-19.
On Councilor Crow's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The committee report is received. Councilor Crow for the committee.
Actually, to explain it, one of the authors of this is Councilor O'Malley.
Sure. Councilor O'Malley
Can
for the
explain
paper.
Thank you, Madam President. So Councilor Spatafor and I worked closely with City Planner Michelle Romero to write this ordinance. And what this does is this marries the demolition delay ordinance that exists in regular ordinance to our zoning ordinance. It allows the Historic Commission to do their analysis, do their evaluation, provide recommendations that then will get sent on to the Special Permit Granting Authority, which is either the Planning Board or the City Council, depending on the project. This allows the process to keep moving rather than it being held up in any one committee. For any properties that are deemed to be preferably preserved by the Historic Commission, it would require a special permit, which would allow the Special Permit Granting Authority the ability to take some of the conditions or recommendations that the Historic Commission has suggested and incorporate that as conditions into the special permit. If there are any specific questions, Michelle Romero, the City Planner, is in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no lights on Councilor Crow's.
So when the ordinance committee met, we spoke a lot with Ms. Romero, and the planning board's recommendation was to approve this ordinance as amended, and the ordinance committee agreed with that, and so we voted unanimously to approve as amended. So make a motion that we enroll as amended.
On Councilor Crow's motion to enroll the ordinance as amended, clerk will call the roll.
Anderson.
Yeah.
Kamel.
Yes.
Condon.
Yes.
Crow.
Yes.
DeMaria. Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy. O'Malley.
Yes.
Winslow.
Yes.
Sika.
Yes.
And thank you for your indulgence. They'll move on, but now
Next
we can
order of business.
focus on them.
Guest and achievement.
Yes.
And the guests and achievement, we have the staff and students of Malden Public Schools presenting information on strategies to connect the city to the world through the 17 United Nations Sustained Development Goals, which provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet now and in the future.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Madam President, Councilors. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Doug Dias. I am the STEM Director for the Malden Public Schools, and I had the opportunity to learn about the SDGs, much as you will tonight, from my two colleagues, Ms. Mofensky-Ramos and Ms. Rosenthal. And to get to this point, we have heard presentations from them and students. The mayor and the superintendent have heard presentations, and we've also presented to the school committee. So you, as being arguably one of the most powerful boards in the city, if not the most powerful board in the city, we feel it's important that you join us in considering making Malden part of the Sustained Development Goals community. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Rosenthal.
My name is Christina Rosenthal. I have a background in clinical research, and I'm a 6th grade science teacher at the Linden STEAM Academy. Malden is a city with strong traditions, enriched by demographic change and commitment to social justice. We want to leverage the diversity of Malden to connect with other cities around the globe and work together toward a common objective, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, otherwise known as the SDGs. 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to take part in a Fulbright exchange with Japan to learn about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals initiative. The SDGs were negotiated by the leaders of 193 nations and stakeholders from business and industry, civil society, and the global public. The SDGs are 17 goals for building a better world by 2030. They focus on universal challenges like ending poverty, fighting inequality, and stopping climate change. If you look at the SDG chart that's in your folder, you'll notice the broad themes of human health and welfare, education and opportunity, city management and infrastructure, and environmental sustainability. We want to bring the world to Malden and share Malden with the world. The general lack of U.S. commitment to the SDGs means there is real opportunity for Malden to become a national leader. Each SDG contains measurable targets to help cities track their progress and plan next steps, many of which don't require major investment, only effort and buy-in from the community, government, businesses, activists, schools, and families. In Malden, we are already working to make our world and community a better place for everyone. And the goals help provide us with the resources, connections, and shared language to take our efforts to the next level. Promoting the SDGs in Malden will empower citizens to improve their communities and lives, while also joining this essential global effort.
Good evening, and my name is Mukira Bell, here to portray one of the several citizens here in Malden at the age of 14. But not only am I one of the various citizens here, but I am also here to exemplify one of the future leaders of the next generation. I desire to watch Malden thrive and formulate as any teenager would. However, how can we enhance and develop the city if we don't have the support and assistance from you adults? How can we help assemble and strengthen our society if things like deprivation, climate change, inequality, and clean water is still a problem today? How can we help assemble? Oh wait, that's hard to say. It shakes that our nation is It shakes me that our nation is eradicating every second, and we're doing absolutely nothing about it. Doesn't it frighten you that your children will have to grow up in a torn and shattered community? However, of course, there is something that we can utilize to help, in which no one appears to comprehend or want to acknowledge today. How many of you are just now hearing about the SDGs? The Sustainable Development Goals, as you have heard before, are 17 efforts that are contended to be attained by the year 2030. But how can we really fulfill this? We need union and partnership. We need equality and education. We need justice. We need climate change to end. We need help. But we can only perform this with your assistance. Enable us to form a society, a better country, a better world. Help us spread the message. Help us achieve. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Ivana Marinkovic and I'm 12 years old. I was born in Melrose but lived in Malden all my life. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to discuss the importance of sustainable development goals and implementing changes for a better future. As we all know, each year Malden changes. Pollution is rising and people are intentionally using energy. The Sustainable Development Goals play a specific role, guiding us to make better choices. These 17 global goals remind us what we need to fix in our world. People need to make an impact in our society today. They need to be held accountable to do their part in making our world a better place and make a difference by achieving simple things such as picking up a piece of trash and throwing it in the garbage. This could save the life of an animal, and it could create a more sanitary environment for humans to live in. It is important for Malden to get involved in these problems so that as a civilization we can achieve a better and more maintained future by 2030. I am a student at the Linden STEAM Academy, and we are very passionate about the Sustainable Development Goals. In order to help, we did food drives, and we are planning to plant trees this spring to reduce the risk of air pollution. I am here today to represent a future citizen of Malden that is concerned for our future. I want to be someone that makes a difference in my community because I want to make Malden a better place for myself and for others. If we all work together, we can make a difference as a society. Thank you.
How can we get Malden to be part of this global movement? My name is Liani Makfiansky-Ramos. I'm an environmental scientist and a Malden educator. The global goals serve as a compass for policymakers and encourage collaboration across the different sectors in promoting sustainability. To implement the goals in our city, we need to make them our own, in accordance with our shared values, diverse culture, and socioeconomic priorities. This process of making the SDGs our own involves a series of steps concerning design, implementation, and evaluation of the local agenda. The first step is to raise awareness of the SDGs and establish a committee to promote meaningful discussions among local actors and stakeholders. And this is what we ask from you today. A SDG committee composed of members of different governing boards to start this conversation. Once all stakeholders understand the purpose and scope of the SDGs, it is time to set up a local agenda where goals, targets, and indicators are adapted into a realistic local plan as a result of evidence-based decision-making that is backed by public support and input. The spreadsheet in your packet is a blueprint for a local SDG agenda. The first 3 columns present the original goals, targets, and indicators as established in 2015 by the UN. The following columns focus on targets and indicators adapted to address local priorities. Once the local plan is completed, we start the implementation and monitoring steps where progress is measured through specific indicators. Policymakers can determine how they're moving toward their goals and adjust as necessary. It sounds overwhelming, but we don't need to start from zero. Several initiatives are happening right now in the city of Malden that address many of the targets. For example, the lead line replacement program addresses target 6.1 on safe and affordable drinking water for all, as well as 9.1, quality, reliable, and sustainable infrastructure. Once established, the SDG committee could correlate current initiatives to the local targets and indicators designed in the SDG agenda. There are many resources showcasing frameworks on how to develop and implement the SDGs in our city. In your packet, you will find the executive summary of 2 documents, Getting Started with the SDGs in Cities and A Pathway to Sustainable American Cities. We believe Malden, through the SDGs, can improve the quality of life on a local level while leading the world on environmental, economic, and social issues.
So in conclusion, I want to thank my colleagues and the students for their presentation, and I would like to thank you for this opportunity. Malden is a wonderful city. One of the things that has made it wonderful is the increased diversity over the last several decades, and looking ahead is an opportunity for Malden to join the world in addressing many of these injustices and goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Thank you so much for coming in. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you. And before you leave, I would like to invite you and your group to a meeting Thursday, if you're available. Malden River Works, which is a group which ties directly into a number of these initiatives, is having their second public hearing here in the Senior Center. It'll be across the hall. Our first meeting was attended by over 100 Malden residents. We are looking for our younger population to attend. The Malden River is, so important to us, and we're trying to bring it back to life. And we're looking to see what the youth of our community, our adult population, and everyone wants to see down there. I'm on the steering committee, but there's actually a project team. They received a $100,000 grant from MIT recently to look at the DPW site to create a sustainable environment down there. The first plans have come out as a result of the last meeting showing how that area might be used to create something that will be a state-of-the-art facility for the public to use, but also create bioswales to be able to protect the runoff and create a cleaner water going into our Malden River. So I think, it ties perfectly with this, and I think it would be a wonderful activity for all of you to get involved in, and at least come Thursday night to hear what we're doing and how the student population might be able to be a part of that. I think it's a wonderful, merging of efforts. So thank you for coming in tonight, and I hope we'll see you Thursday night. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, thank you for coming out. I mean, these are all very important issues to all of us in Malden, a very broad range of things. And I know, right now, just for instance, another thing to get involved in, right now we are taking comments on our municipal vulnerability plan, which is some of our strategies to deal with climate change. So that's something that you can participate in, as well as all the public, and you can go to our website to see how to comment on that. And I know also we're working on a lot of transportation issues that, there's some things about reducing road injuries and that type of thing. So we're all working together on some of these safe streets initiatives. So certainly want to work as a city and to have this great framework to work on. So thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Kamel.
And just to add to that, just want to let you know as well, we have the Energy Efficiency Commission that is for the city of Malden. That I'm the member, the council representative, the council representative on that. We're doing a lot of work. We've done work in past years, back to when Councilor Spadafora was also the representative on that body. The LED lights, the energy performance contracting, and now we're working on looking into electric aggregation for the city of Malden that further encourages more renewable energy for our city. So fantastic. It fits again with these goals. And I also wanted to add, Councilor Murphy asked me to an addendum on the Thursday's meeting, the invitation for the entire public, not just you folks, but everybody is welcome to that Thursday. Again, what time was it?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock across the hall here. So thank you. Thank you very much for this. This is fantastic.
Thank you, Councilor Kamel. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to comment about the presenters this evening. We are always impressed and amazed at the quality of the students that have come before us this evening. We see how smart you are and how poised you were in your presentation here this evening. And I think that's a wonderful thing, and it's a testament to what resources we have here in the city of Malden. So congratulations to you, all of you, your teachers and director and superintendent and all. We were all very impressed with what you said here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again for coming. Next order of business.
Jody Zalk is here from Malden Reeds to give the annual presentation for the upcoming year.
Go ahead. Good evening.
Good evening, members of the City Council. We want to thank you very much for the opportunity and the honor to speak with you this evening. My name is Jody Zalk. I'm one of the co-facilitators for Malden Reeds, and I'm joined here tonight by some of my cohorts who will be speaking this evening, as well as some of our additional supporters. We are here tonight for our special 10th anniversary year and here presenting to you for our 10th time. For those of you who may not know us, we're a community reading program organized by volunteers and anchored by the Malden Public Library and MATV, soon to be UMA. And our mission is to promote literacy, encourage a love of reading, and most important, build community around this focused goal here in our city of Malden. For each year over the past 9 years, we've come before the City Council to share some information about the upcoming year's program and to invite City Council members to participate in Malden Reeds programming, as well as the community at large. And we thank those of you who have attended events, co-sponsored events, and have supported Malden Reeds with financial contributions, in-kind donations, and your well wishes, which we appreciate also. For our 2020 program, Malden Reeds has received a matching grant for the maximum amount, I might add, from the National Endowment for the Arts to participate in their NEA Big Read program. Participating in a program like this has raised the stakes even more for us as we challenge ourselves to make new and meaningful connections in our community through celebrating literature and literacy. And as we challenge ourselves, we also challenge you to consider engaging with Malden Reeds in new and meaningful ways. For instance, inviting some of your constituents to a book discussion or participating in one of our special events and interacting with folks from across the city. We'll be providing each of you with a printed calendar of events for all of our events for 2020 at the close of our presentation, along with a copy of this year's main book selection. And we invite you to read the book and share it with members of the community. We also invite you to browse through the calendar of events and keep an eye on our website for updated events. We like to think of our books that we present to you this evening as like seeds to the wind, and we know that the impact of a good book spreads throughout the community like that. And at this time, I would like to introduce my co-facilitator, Ann Durso Rose, who will describe one of our special events planned for 2020, and then each of the subsequent speakers will introduce the next person. And then following that, if it would be permissible, we would like to take a picture with the group.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hello, members of the Malden City Council. On behalf of the Malden Reeds Committee, thank you so much for allowing us once again to make this annual presentation. As most of you know, besides being the other Malden Reeds co-facilitator, I am the Associate Director of MATV, soon to be UMA, which stands for Urban Media Arts. Many of you have been hearing about MATV's name change and our evolving identity that goes beyond television. Part of that name change and that new identity is to better encapsulate the programs and activities that we have been doing for years and that we plan to do in the future. Activities that go beyond television, such as being a lead organization along with the Malden Public Library for the Malden Reeds One City, One Book program. MATV has played a major role in helping to initiate, support, and facilitate the Malden Reeds program since its inception. It is part of our broader mission to connect community, promote civic engagement, and nurture arts and culture in the city of Malden, all of which we feel Malden Reeds has been successfully achieving over the past 9 years. Malden Reeds has many exciting events and activities planned for this coming year, but I want to highlight our capstone event scheduled for Saturday, May 2nd, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. here at the Malden Senior Community Center. we will be hosting the Malden Mass Memories Roadshow, an opportunity for our community to build a time capsule of oral histories and photographs that tell the rich history and current story of Malden. The Mass Memories Roadshow is a project of UMass Boston, launched in 2004. It is a statewide, event-based, participatory archiving project that documents people, places, and events in Massachusetts history through family photographs and stories. So far, it has digitized more than 11,000 photographs and stories from across the state, creating an educational resource of primary sources for future generations. And once you read Fahrenheit 451, you'll understand why we chose this project as our capstone event. We hope that you will not only plan to take part in this event, but assist us with the planning process, which involves outreaching all of our amazing community groups and organizations and enlist their involvement so that the project will truly reflect our diverse Malden community. We're holding our next planning session next Tuesday, February 4th at 7 p.m. at the library, and I know that's not a good time for all of you, but please help spread the word and to the groups that you're connected with, and know that there'll be another planning session that will not be offered on a Tuesday. The postcard we'll be giving you has the basic information, and you can find out more on our website and through our upcoming promotion. And now I'd like to introduce Karen Gwigley, the Assistant Director of the Malden Public Library.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to join you to talk about Malden Reads and this year's selection, Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Like many of the books that are considered classics in American literature, the story of 451 is familiar to most of us, a society where the government has banned books and censored the open flow of information, where people have shorter attention spans, where knowledge and truth begin to have no meaning, where interpersonal relationships have devolved to parlor wall families, basically interactive reality TV shows with little or no human unscripted interaction. But can any society grow and thrive with these kind of restrictions on its citizens? What becomes of the individual if not able to follow their natural curiosities? Like many of you, I read this book in high school. When deciding which of the NEA Big Read books to choose this year for Malden Reads, I worried personally that a classic, a book that many of you might have read before, would not be of interest to the community. But rereading it this summer, Fahrenheit 451 was such a wonderful surprise. I remembered reading the book before, but my worldview at 17 differs from that of an adult, and many more years of living has enabled me to experience this novel in a new manner. In addition, the themes and concerns that Bradbury addressed in 1953 are more amplified and acute today than they were 65 years ago. I am so happy to have read this terrific book again and excited that we are able to have another community dialogue with Malden Reads surrounding the themes of 451. I just want to add that Malden Public Library this year has copies of 451 available in book form, including large print, copies in Spanish, French, Chinese, Portuguese, and Arabic, along with downloadable and audio books on Overdrive that are just for Malden residents. And next is Martha Bezet, a longtime Malden Reads Steering Committee member, and she will share information about book discussions we have planned for 2020.
Good evening, City Council members, and thank you for your time and your service to Malden. My name is Martha Bezat, and I'm a longtime member of Malden Reads, and I also work in the Malden Public Schools as well. I hope that in the 10 years of Malden Reads programming that you or your family have had the opportunity to either read our book, attend our opening celebration, attend a book discussion or film, or other exciting community event. Malden Reads is one of Malden's strongest civic and community organizations, and its programming has had ripple effects throughout the schools, other community groups, the diverse communities of Malden, and the different generations of Maldonians. While I love all of Malden Reads events and activities, my absolute favorite program they run is their book discussions. Book discussions truly showcase the book, the ideas, the author, the story, sometimes the controversy, the places where we connect, and the general meaning in our own lives and in Malden. Sometimes we forget the rich fabric of people that make up Malden. All the generations, all the backgrounds, all the educational and travel experiences. A book discussion is a great forum to get to know your fellow Maldonians. There's no shortage of conversation either, because every discussion has a facilitator who will pose interesting and intriguing questions for the group. And our locations are fun and different too. We have 7 book discussions that you can choose from. We have 2 in February, 1 at the Dockside, and 1 at the Malden Senior Center. We have 3 in March, 1 at the Idle Hands Craft Ales, 1 at the Malden Library, hosted by Mayor Christensen, which will also include a Skype with a community in Kentucky that's also reading Fahrenheit 451, and another one at the First Parish Church. Finally, in May, we have a book discussion that will include a canoe ride down the Malden River, and I'm not kidding. And finally, for those with super busy schedules, you can also join an online book discussion. We also have a podcast series starting this month called Malden Reads Fahrenheit 451, where we will be talking to guests about their experiences of the book. Listening to the podcast, which will be available through the Malden Reads website, is sure to enrich your experience of reading it. Our first guest will be Malden Deputy Fire Chief Bill Sullivan, who has been participating in our events promoting the book. He is an avid reader, and it seems fitting that our own local firefighter shares in his experience of reading the book, in which a main character is a firefighter who burns books rather than puts out fires. So I hope our presentation tonight has excited you about reading Fahrenheit 451 and diving into Malden Reads programming, and hopefully at least one book discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to do the picture now? Okay. Everybody
So
get up
now,
for a picture.
That if it would be permissible, we'll come up and present.
Pass out the books?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor DeMaria.
Thank you. And while you're doing that, Malden Reads, I just want to say personal thank you. You guys are amazing. You've sustained this project for 10 years. I've sat in it at the very beginning, and to choose a book annually, oh, you can come up while I'm talking. It doesn't matter. It's fine. But I am so proud of you, and I just want to say thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Ah. That's always how it is, right? Yeah. Coming up.
Hello, troublemaker. I like your glasses. Okay.
He was coronavirus, is that what you said? Do you have this from the mayor? That's for paper 4940, I think. No, that's not it.
So this is 42-20.
Yeah, 42, sorry. That's just,
Oh, so this is the sum of, so I can read this letter in this?
yeah.
You're not having it.
You want me to read the letter? I don't care.
You can read it if you want.
Okay. Okay, thank you for coming. Everyone back in their seats? Are we still missing a bunch of people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Next order of business. Yeah.
No public comment, right?
Nope.
Paper 32-20, approval of the minutes from the 2020 inauguration, January 6, 2020.
On Councilor Di Maria's motion to approve the minutes, all those in favor? All those opposed? Minutes have been approved. Next order of business.
33-20, minutes of the council meeting of January 14, 2020.
On Councilor O'Malley's motion to approve the minutes, all those in favor? All those opposed? The minutes have been approved. Next order of business.
Paper 34-20, minutes of the committee of the whole meeting on January 21st, 2020.
On Councilor Crow's motion to approve the minutes, all those in favor? All those opposed? The minutes have been approved. Next order of business.
Paper 35-20, mayoral appointment, Sharon Santillo, 72 Ashland Street, apartment 402, Malden, Mass. As a member of the Malden Redevelopment Authority Board, said term to expire May 1st, 2024. Sharon will replace Amanda Linehan, who recently became a member of the City Council.
Motion to refer to personnel and appointments.
On Councilor Crow's motion to refer to personnel and appointments, all those in favor? All those opposed? Is it getting placed on file?
I think it's just placed on file.
Okay,
I think these two are just placed on file. They're just
Okay.
communications. I'm sorry.
Sorry. So
Motion
on
rescinded.
Councilor Crow's motion to place this appointment on file, seconded by Councilor Di Maria, all those in favor?
Aye.
It's no confirmation required.
No, it's just information.
It's just, yep. So the appointment has been placed on file. Next order of business.
Paper 36-20, council appointment, Cameron Lane, 11 Grape Street, Malden, Mass. To be appointed to the Community Preservation Committee to serve the remainder of the vacant seat of Ted Louis Jacques as the Ward 7 member, term to expire March 15th, 2020.
That one's getting referred.
No.
No?
No, it's not the council appointments, it's the councilor's appointment, so it's just a communication, so it's just placed
okay.
on file.
Okay. On Councilor Crow's motion to place the appointment on file, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The appointment has been filed. Next order of business.
The hearings and petitions, 37-20, livery license Ruby Lynn Transportation, LLC, 259 Mountain Ave, Apartment 1, one-car renewal. 38-20, livery license Amanda Singh, 27 Alpine Street, Apartment 3, Malden, one car, it's a renewal. Paper 39-20, livery license David Ulisse, 230 Bryant Street, number 3, Malden, one car, it's a renewal. Paper 40-20, extended hours Walgreens, number 03130 at 185 Center Street, Malden, hours 24/7, renewal. And 41-20, fortune teller Angie Marks, 495 Broadway, Malden, it's a renewal.
Councilor Murphy.
Refer to license.
On Councilor Murphy's motion to refer these petitions to license, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The matters have been referred. Next order of business.
42-20, order that the sum of $118,908.20 be in the same as hereby appropriated from the TNC surcharge municipal distribution account to cover the following expenses: installation of a granite curb, new AADA/AAB compliant concrete wheelchair ramps and sidewalks, traffic signals, pedestrian signals, and push button assembly and crosswalk pavement markers at the intersection of Washington, Winter, Glenwood, and Grove Streets. And we have a letter in support from the mayor. Dear President Sika, I write to ask that you support paper 42-20 to make improvements to the Washington, Glenwood, Winter, and Grove Street intersection. Specifically, if approved, funding would be used for the installation of granite curbs, new AADA, AAB compliant concrete wheelchair ramps and sidewalks, traffic signals, pedestrian signals, and push-button assembly and crosswalk pavement markings. Funding for this project would come from two sources. Number one, an earmark of $50,000 that was secured by Senator Jason Lewis and Representative Paul Donato, Steve Altrino, and Paul Brodeur in the most recent state budget. And number two, $118,908 from the TNC surcharge municipal distribution account, often referred to as the Uber Lyft account. This is an area that we have long wanted to address but couldn't identify the sources to accomplish it. There is also something that has been advocated for over the years by the resident-led Walkability Committee. Finally, the project makes sense since it would coincide with all the improvements that the MBTA is presently making to the Oak Grove train station. With your support, the work could begin this spring with a completion date over the summer. Please let me know if you have any questions in the meantime. Thank you, and as always, for your consideration. Sincerely, Gary Christensen, Mayor of Malden.
Councilor Kamel for the paper.
Yeah, the mayor's letter said most of it, but again, this is sort of an annual thing now that we're seeing the Uber and Lyft surcharge fees coming in. And I would move to refer this to finance. We can have a more in-depth discussion. Spoke with Assistant Controller Dan Grover earlier this evening, and he's prepared to come to the Finance Committee to discuss this.
On Councilor Kamel's motion to refer this matter to finance, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The matter has been referred. Next order of business.
Paper 43-20, order that the polling locations be designated for 2020, with all designated early voting dates to be held at the John and Christina Markey Senior Center, 7 Washington Street, Malden, Mass. You just approve it.
Yeah, you're going to read them all.
Polling places would be as follow. Ward 1, Precinct 1, Ferryway School. Ward 1, Precinct 2, Ferryway School. Ward 2, Precinct 1, Community Room at 89 Pearl Street. 2-2, Irish American, 177 West Street. 3-1 and 3-2, BB School, 401 Pleasant Street. 4-1, Early Learning Center, 257 Mountain Ave, Gymnasium. 4-2, Senior Center Auditorium, 7 Washington Street. 5-1, Salem Wood School, 529 Salem Street. 5-2, Forestdale School, 74 Sylvan Street. 6-1, Mystic Valley Charter School, Multi-Purpose Room, 4 Laurel Street. 6-2, Community Room, 630 Salem Street. 7-1, Ferryway School, 150 Cross Street. 7-2, Suffolk Manor Community Room, 312 Bryant Street. 8-1, Linden School, 29 Westcott Street. 8-2, Linden School, 29 Prescott Street.
Councilor O'Malley.
The only question I had, obviously for the presidential primary, we'd want that to be here for 4-2. But what are we thinking about the primaries in September and then the general in November? Do you think it would make sense to have that at the new City Hall for those elections?
I would leave it here.
Okay.
For this year, and then you can...
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Did you make a motion? To adopt? Councilor O'Malley's motion to adopt, seconded by Councilor Murphy. All those in favor? All those opposed? The order has been adopted. Next order of business.
Paper 44-20, order that the city solicitor and the city engineer produce by February 11, 2020, all legal documents and property plans necessary to allow the city council to confirm the city's ownership of Trafton Park and dedicate such land as protected open space under Article 97 of the Massachusetts Constitution.
You want to talk? Councilor Kamel for the paper.
Great. So this is related to, and thank my fellow councilors all for your support in the securing the grant for Trafton. This is part of that process, it's associated with that process where to, dot all our I's and cross all our T's, we we confirmed some ownership of Trafton Park, and part of that is rededicating it to public use, open space, and somebody who can probably shed a little bit more light in a more eloquent way, better than myself, is our city solicitor, Kate Fallon.
Are you okay with Solicitor Fallon speaking?
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to allow solicitor.
No, okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming.
No, it's my pleasure to be here. And as you know, Trafton Park, we've had Trafton Park for years and years and years and years. It was dedicated sometime in the 50s and named as Trafton Park. It originally started out as a granite lot. What we're faced with right now is the necessity to prepare a confirmatory deed very similar to what we did with High Rock, where we dedicate this as permanently preserved for park purposes for the city of Malden, which it is a public park already. But for purposes of this grant, as I understand it, it is required to be reconfirmed by the city, which, as the council knows, the process would be to prepare a confirmatory deed with the meets and bounds, information on the park. I'd love a new plan to be recorded as well, just like we did with the High Rock parcels, and title reference, which is what makes the deed sufficient for recording. What is interesting here is we've had it for so long that those records are handwritten records, and they're archived, and our archives are in a variety of different locations. So we've been hunting around for how we initially acquired it back in the 1800s, which is when we believe we acquired it, late 1880s. And so that's where we're at the process. We have a title examiner working on gleaning title. I've spoken with the assessor today and the engineer today, and on an ongoing manner been updating Councilor Kamel and Councilor Winslow on what we've been working on to figure out the title reference.
Yeah, and so Councilor Winslow and I had put this on the docket to kind of make sure we're moving the process forward, and also request the, make sure we're all working together in a coordinated fashion, and the city solicitor can get what she needs from the city engineer and vice versa. And so I would ask to pass this order this evening.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, thank you. Councilor Kamel's motion to adopt, Councilor DiMaria.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a real quick question. As part of all this research, will a survey, an actual land survey, be part of this? Because with the High Rock, there was a little bit of question back then.
With the High Rock, we actually went back and hired the survey that had prepared the previous survey to combine the parcels. So that was a lot easier because there were already plans for that land. With this, in terms of the assessor's archives and the engineer's archives, we're finding plans in the vicinity of, but not a specific plan. So the last discussion I had a couple of weeks back with Yem with our city engineer was to hire a licensed surveyor to prepare that for us. I
Great.
think we need it for our
Absolutely.
records,
Great.
our updated records. I saw him earlier at a committee meeting. I didn't ask him where that's at, but I did follow up in writing with him today, and I'm sewing in the councilors in the loop to see.
So I support it as long as we have a survey.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley.
I can defer to the sponsor. It sounded like the sponsor wanted to speak.
Sorry, yeah, and it was not my intent. I requested the city solicitor give a little bit of background. It's not my intent tonight to pepper too many questions. That's why we're sort of putting this on the docket in advance for February 11th. At that point, I think we can kind of delve in a little bit deeper if we have more questions. So I would request that that's what we do. That's my request.
I have a question, sorry. We're voting on the floor, right? You want us to pass it on the floor. And I'm 100%.
Absolutely no.
I'm 100% in support.
To gather the information and answer questions in depth 2 weeks from now.
Because I definitely want us to pass this tonight, and I definitely want this to get done as quickly as possible. One of the things that would be great, I'm not sure if you found this, usually parks are designated by the state legislature, so I don't know if maybe there's records at the State House that show that this is a park, and making sure that, not to hold this up by any means, but if for some reason we don't have that, to make sure that we move forward with that as soon as possible also. So I'm in full support.
We don't have that, Councilor. Councilor Winslow did an amazing amount of research, too, on what we do have, and found a couple of annual reports back to the 1800s and early 1900s, but we don't have anything like that. So we are working on it, and these records were all handwritten at the time, so it's literally going page for page right now.
And would that be would the confirmatory deed almost be a prerequisite to that process?
My understanding of why we're going through this endeavor for the grant is the deed is required to permanently convey this for park purposes. Again, very similar to what High Rock wasn't a public park, but once you give it a specific designation, it's permanent and it can't be undone other than through legislative action.
Absolutely.
By the state.
So I'm not sure if there is a motion. I'm not looking to stifle any debate, but just to put a motion on the floor, would it be to approve?
I think what Councilor Kamel's intent and Councilor Winslow's intent is to sort of hasten the process, give something back to the council by that date. We don't want to miss the deadline under the grant funding, and this is a requirement under the grant funding. So it's kind of, hasten the process of getting the information to you.
So are we adopting? Or
Sure.
Move to adopt, but without stifling any debate.
The alternative is don't do it, but we still have to comply with the requirement. But it's something we're working on anyway.
100% in support. Motion, move to adopt.
Councilor Murphy.
Thank you. So I guess the first question I have, because I've been going through this, as you know, for about 18 months now, prior to Trafton Park. So is this with the new addition to the staffing that you've hired, this is something that is attainable by that date?
I don't have new addition to my staff.
I thought we hired somebody to do outside services.
It's not addition to the staff, it's outside
services to help.
Oh, that's a title examiner.
Okay.
Right. So it doesn't alleviate all the work that we're doing. So I still have additional work I'm doing here with the city archives and the city records and city personnel on it. I think what we did was we gave a title examiner a needle in a haystack. And I have literally gone to the library archives with Karen Anderson going through page for page for page. But as you know, I only have myself and 2 part-timers, so I also need to address the other matters. We thought, give her what we have, give her as much information as we have. We've shared what was researched by Councilor Winslow, and oddly enough, we both came to almost the same conclusion and the same name. What she's doing is something that is very time-consuming because she's requesting probate records from archives of the state that are in Worcester. So every probate record takes her two weeks. Then she goes and looks through it, gets more and more and more. So it's an extremely time-consuming process to figure this out, because all the records were handwritten and the archives are all over the place, and none of this was computerized until the recent past. And none of the computerized records give us title information. I wish they did, but they don't. So it's her chasing it down for us with all the outside work, going to the registries, because these are ancient plans that she's reviewing, ancient records that she's reviewing, that would require me or my staff to go to these places and spend a day to a week or two on that aspect of it. So it's an elimination process, basically. Okay. It should not be this difficult, but it is, because we've had it for so long, and we've had it during a non-computerized handwritten records time period. Plus, archives have been shifted to different locations. So what I looked at were assessor archives, believe it or not, that are in the library, that Dora had the great foresight to save. So that's what we were going through by hand.
Okay. So just, I may continue just for a minute, because, when you're giving instructions to somebody who works for you, you want to make sure that they have the resources they need to actually complete the task that you're giving them. And I fully understand, Councilor, that there's a grant at stake here, and we really need to make that date, which is why that's my next question, because you do have a full workload. And I know, I'm waiting too. As you know, we won't go into that. But is this a reasonable date? And if it's not, is there somebody you need to help you look through these archives? I mean, do you need Ms. Anderson more time from her? I mean, what do you need to make this date actually happen so this grant is not in jeopardy?
Yeah, I would love it if she was available, but she's not. She knows what I'm looking for. She knows what to look for, but I can't really say that. What I asked Mr. O'Brien was, and Mr. Lip was, what have you guys uncovered in you? I've sat with Alex with engineering. Kathy and Jim and I have worked on it, but I'd like all hands on deck for it to make the deadline, and that's really what's needed. And I know everyone has other things that they're working on, just like I do, but I don't know how to answer that.
Okay, so well, actually,
it would be great to have another staff member, but
I guess you have kind of answered it, because I guess my question is, does the assessor, if we're going to put this order in and it's an all hands on deck situation to make it happen so that you don't lose that grant, should this be amended to include the assessor and any other department that might need to be able to put a body on this?
Yes, if that would be helpful to get this across the goal line. Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Thank you very much. I'll move to amend to add the assessor. What else? Any other suggestions?
We kept the treasurer's office, because they keep the records of takings, and they keep the records of the tax title records. Okay. And Mr. Davis had gone back. I had asked him a while. This isn't a new thing either. This has been going on for a while. So this isn't new to anyone internally that's been asked to jump on board and help out with it. So,
but again, it's February 11th, whether it's complete or not complete, it would be good to come back and give an update again where we're at. And so we'll move. Appreciate Councilor Murphy's insight. I'll move to amend this to include the assessor and the treasurer.
I think that's a great suggestion, because they may or may not have archived records of this.
Thank you.
So.
Can I get a second?
Are you all set, Councilor Murphy?
I am. Thank you.
Great, thank you. On Councilor Kamel's motion
Amendment first.
to amend,
Motion to amend.
seconded by Councilor O'Malley. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Paper has been amended. On Councilor Kamel's motion to adopt as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Say that again?
Yes, it is.
Defer to the president.
The other one wasn't. No.
Yeah, the other one was an amendment.
With a full motion, it could be.
We can take one if you'd like. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson. Kamel.
Yes.
Condon. Crow. Di Maria. Linehan. Murphy.
Yes.
O'Malley. Seeker.
Yes. You want to say something before we move on? Sure. Councilor O'Malley. Thank you, Solicitor Fallon.
Well, actually,
You want to ask her?
So I know that Councilor Murphy referred to some other research that's going on for land protection. I know that Councilor Kamel and I think the rest of the council also sponsored protecting land in the Maplewood Highlands. Do you need additional resources to get staff, outside staff, to potentially work on title searches for all of that too?
I would love to use this title examiner. I think she's doing an amazing job, though it's time consuming. And I also enlisted a second title examiner, knowing that we need to get on those as well. So, I mean, it's a great opportunity for me to ask you to, petition for new staff members. I'd love that. I always ask you for that. But I would use my resources. I'm assuming the engineer is going to. He may already have a surveyor on board. We did discuss it. I'm assuming he's going to be using his professional services for that. I do have professional services to be able to hire these title examiners. I just want this one thing done. So I really wanted her to zone in on this and get it done for us based on the grant.
And I know that, Councillor, the Trafton Park is top priority because there's the grant at stake. So I'm not saying change priorities by any means, but just like going forward, something we might want to take into account, especially as we're getting into the budget time. I think I read his brand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kamel.
Yeah, and I did want to sort of, as Councilor Murphy brought up, I do want to defer. So I would say, I'm asking Trafton to jump out of line specifically for extenuating circumstances, but of course I do want to defer to Councilor Murphy. Did have those parcels in Ward 5, and I did certainly want to defer to her on that one. Got mine in on Ward 6, sometime after that, with a lot of help from her. So I do want to acknowledge that, and thank you very much, Councilor Murphy.
And if I can just say that we did start with those parcels, and I actually did a lot of work with Gary Stead on those parcels, and then Jim and Kathy on those parcels. Then this came across the desk as something that we had to prioritize. But it is not forgotten, and it is something that we will work on getting someone to make a plan to combine those lots for. And there's additional ones that we're looking at too. So.
Councilor Murphy.
I was just trying to drive home the complexity of this because I was concerned about the date and just that you might need more resources to actually accomplish it, knowing the work that you have put in to the Ward 5 parcels and how complicated it was. So I was not, I know this takes priority, but I just wanted to make sure everybody was all hands on deck. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm acting under the assumption that you're permitting me to utilize my professional services to bring those people on board for this task. That's what I'm doing. And of course, I would advocate for more staffing for me.
I know, that's great. All right. Thank you. Okay, next order of business.
Paper 45-20, order that the city clerk physically post meeting agendas at City Hall.
Councilor O'Malley. Hold on for the paper.
So I think we're going to hear again from the Solicitor Fallon, but I just wanted to explain kind of where this came from and kind of like explain why I was proposing this. For pretty much all of time, we have posted physical meeting notices and agendas at City Hall, and they're primarily put in an area where someone could access them 24 hours a day. And at the old City Hall, I believe that they were posted at the old sliding doors. Since then, we've posted them at 110 Pleasant Street on the ground floor near the elevators. We've also posted them in the entryway here at the Senior Center, because this is where the vast majority of our meetings have occurred. And it's come to my attention that maybe as of July, there was a adoption of a Commonwealth regulation, a CMR, that allowed the city to utilize the website as the primary place to post meeting notices, so the notice of record. And since then, we've stopped posting them physically at our city hall and our public buildings. I've received feedback from elderly residents and residents that don't have the means of accessing meeting records on their phone, whether they have, maybe they're hard of seeing and they can't use phones that way, or maybe they have a flip phone so they don't have access to the internet on their phone. They have found it difficult to know what meetings are actually occurring in the city because they don't have that access when they show up to the Senior Center. So I wasn't suggesting that we change the official place that we post for record, but to, in addition to that, post the meeting notices in paper format so that anyone that comes into a city building like the Senior Center, wherever we're hosting a public meeting, has a place where they can go and find out what meetings are going on. It's not required by law. It would be over and above. But I do think it would be a good gesture for our elderly residents and those with various disabilities, whether they be visual, et cetera. And I think it's good customer service. And hopefully in the new City Hall, we will have technology and other manners that will allow people to access these. But in the meantime, until we've moved in there, I thought this is something that would be a pretty easy thing to do. But I'm open to hearing what the rest of the council has to say, as well as the city solicitor.
Thank you.
So, Council, you're accurate. This is found in the CMRs relating to open meeting law, and we did consistently do the physical posting. And there is a regulation, it's 940 CMR section 29.03, contains the notice requirements, which we've all discussed multiple times, especially in light of open meeting law complaints. There's an alternative posting method that is allowed to be adopted, and the adoption of that alternative posting method under the regulations is by the mayor. And so the mayor did adopt the alternative posting method, which is posting on the city website. And I have the same information that you have, which is that I think that took effect July 1st. This came up in a discussion with the planner, and when we checked with the mayor's IT, Mr. Cochran, he did say that they complied with the requirement, notifying the Attorney General's office that that was the method of posting decided upon and chosen. And they would have, at the time, notified the previous city clerk of that. So I'm not sure. I'm assuming Ron did all of that. I didn't see anything from the city clerk, the previous city clerk. It did not eliminate the requirement for every board, commission, committee to hand file with the city clerk so that it can be date stamped. And so it doesn't eliminate the paper copy that an individual, let's say it's an elderly person coming to the building looking for the meeting postings, can go to the city clerks and still get the paper copy of them. Or make the request over the phone and the city clerk can send it out. It doesn't eliminate the requirement for the clerks of all these committees, commissions, council to post with the city clerk, who then would post it online in accordance with the adopted method of website posting. So it really, under the regs, is the chief executive officer's determination on how we post. It doesn't eliminate also the regular publication requirements that some boards and commissions, for example, the planning board, have to comply with by statute, publication in the paper, etc. So that's my understanding of what, when, how, and why, and it is, again, it's the chief executive officer's decision under the regulation as the means of posting.
Thank you. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam President. Kate, is that to say that we can't order it, but we could resolve this this item that's on the docket? We could resolve that this sort of thing happened, and that's our message to the mayor, who's the person that would be empowered to do that. So if it's out of our jurisdiction to order the posting of it, I would suggest that we change the order to a resolve, and it'll go to the mayor. The mayor can respond to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a pregnant pause this is.
Did you want me to
No,
answer that?
Yeah, sure.
My understanding of it is we converted to that because we now have the capability we have new software that we're implementing all the boards and commissions to post on the software, agendas, dockets, minutes that have been approved, meeting notices. That it's my understanding that I shouldn't say that you can't order the city clerk to put them up in the display cabinets if you wanted to, but
We don't
again,
have display cabinets.
My point was that I think that Councilor O'Malley has a good idea. I think that for all the reasons that he's mentioned, to have paper posted at the locations so that those folks who don't have computer access or the flip phones or what have you will still have it. That doesn't eliminate the required process that we have to go through, but I would think that posting it at these locations you're talking about, well, you're talking about 2 locations. He's talking about at City Hall. You can add 3, add the senior center and the 2 current City Hall locations. It's not going to hurt anything. And if we can't order it to be done, we can always change this item 4520 to a resolve, and it just becomes our sense that we think that should happen, and then vote on that. Then it becomes a sense of the City Council to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President. I think to say that we want the city clerk to go to the multiple locations, there are, city employees, and if we are, it goes out to I don't know how many people, all the agendas, all the clerks get them. Just ask somebody at the senior center, can you post them? You mean, instead of demanding, I'm not sure why they stopped, or maybe if the seniors are asking for it, then you ask the senior center staff when they get them to post them. So I think, that we're using that method to get people to look at them. People can go into just about any place in City Hall and get any of the agendas that are there, and it's outside of City Hall. That's what we're looking for, especially here. I think that's just a request to ask them to post them instead of having our city clerk running down the street, running over here, and to every city building. So I think that's the better way to go.
Thank you. Councilor Kamel.
So I would respectfully disagree. I think we do, and I believe the city solicitor referred to it. I believe it is in our jurisdiction to ask the city clerk to do that. And while you are correct, in practice we might do that. It's always good to have a single point of ownership to. And I see Greg looking at me. Sorry about that. But I did want to ask: does it pose an excessive increase in workload to sort of own that function? Given the fact that you probably could, in practice, just ask, "Hey, can you print this out and post this on the window?" I believe we can still make it an order to make sure we get it done. One point of ownership, while the clerk can be at liberty to make it happen in whatever efficient way that they can find.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy.
Okay. So, here's my 2 cents on this. We haven't been doing it since last July. Okay, it's coming up now. We are going to be moving into a new City Hall in 2 to 3 months. There are no display boards in City Hall, so it's not going to happen there. Okay, there's no wall to put it on. There's no display boards that are built there to hang them up anywhere. No, there isn't. Okay, well, it's not there. But we are going to have kiosks, okay? There is no difference between a paper copy and a kiosk that you can walk over to when you're in City Hall and say, planning board agendas, okay? And if it's an issue with the seniors and they can't walk to City Hall, then what we should do is speak about putting a kiosk here, okay, where they can just go on and have a touch screen, and that way you're not going to be worried about lost papers not being posted on time. It'll be one set that will be available from a central database that will be accessible to everybody and possibly in different languages. So to me, that's the way we should go. Let's not, go back 100 years. Let's go future in the forward where we can actually have data that is consolidated, easily acceptable, readable, can be pushed up to be read in large print. That's what I think we should be looking at. That's my 2 cents. So because of that, I'm not in favor of this. But I think I would be very much in favor of making sure that notices are posted through a kiosk setup in appropriate places, whether that be the senior center, the library, City Hall. I think that's something that's very feasible.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Councilor DeMaria.
Thank you, Madam President, and I totally agree with Councilor Murphy. One thing that is very important is on our website, as Mr. Cochran has said, that has the capability of alternate languages. And I think that's an attainable goal, is where we need to get to in Malden. So while I'm all about transparency and involvement with our community, I do agree with Councilor Murphy on this point that this should stay more in a technology, let's not cut trees down and litter our streets with more dockets or minutes. And so that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Councilor Linehan.
I'll defer if you had to.
I just want to make it clear. Thank you, Counselor. I just want to make it clear. This was enacted to be the official posting. You can do any of this, but this is just for the purposes of open meeting law. The reason for this was the official posting of notices for the city is the website. That I just wanted to clarify that. I don't think you're not asking to change that. You're just asking to expand it or ensure that it is more accessible. And I think the issue with seniors, they can't go down the steep hill to come in to the, that's my understanding, is they might not be able to make the hill down into the building right now. But I also do see it posted. A lot of the time the meetings are posted on the boards out there when you walk in, so that they already post a lot of these.
So thank you for that. That was one of the points I wanted a little clarity on, is were we changing the official, open meeting law compliant posting? And it sounds like no, this would be an add-on or a nice to have. So I guess I have two questions for Councilor O'Malley. The first is, which meetings are you intending to, if this were to move forward in some format? And I think I'd be in favor of possibly putting this in the senior center, but to Councilor Murphy and DeMaria's points, I think we might be moving backwards a little bit in terms of paper to post a lot of things physically in that many locations. So which meetings are you hoping to have advertised? And is your sense that you'd like it to be viewable from the street? Because I think that is one piece of feedback I've gotten, is that they were kind of hard to access in the old locations, having to go into the building or not being able to see them after hours.
Thank you for those questions, if I may, Council President. I think the senior center would be a better location. I think when I said City Hall, I just said City Hall to have this discussion, because we're in currently 3 locations. Actually, wherever we are is City Hall. And I think that having here in this atrium where we've had it posted before, you see that actually what they did was, because people were used to looking there, they actually have put on the window, please go to www.cityofmalden.org for official meeting notices. I am not suggesting that we change the official record, which is the website. But I am saying that we should go back to the process that we were doing only a few months ago, so that we also post them physically in paper until, because I also agree with Councillor Murphy, until we have the technology. But unfortunately, we don't have the technology right now. There is no kiosk. There are no kiosks. I actually met with the IT director today to discuss the kiosks. Right now, they're going full steam ahead with the network of the new City Hall and getting that up and running. And they do not have a kiosk setup ready yet. And I think that even with a kiosk, sometimes depending on people's technological capabilities, sometimes the old way has some benefits too. So I don't think that we should be going backwards by any means, but I think that we should be making accommodations for elderly and people with different disabilities, especially considering it's been the way we've been operating for a while now. And it at least it happened to me over the summer, and I didn't really notice it until we really came back, after the summer, and I was wondering, what was going on, and then just kind of slowly learned, and it was actually just tonight that I learned how we actually formally went to this process. So I'm not looking to change it. I'm just looking to add in addition to that. I think the senior center would be a great location. I also agree with Councillor Kamel. I do think that we do have the ability to order above and beyond, but we don't have the ability to change the notice of record.
Did he answer your questions?
Well, only the part about which meetings you had.
Oh, which
in
meetings?
Mind, yeah.
I think it should be all meetings. To be honest with you, even I had there are a lot of meetings, and I'll be honest with you. Sometimes they get lost in your email inbox, and it's great to at least I used to walk by the board and be like, okay, what planning board things are going on? Is my name checked off on it? It sometimes helps you keep up on what's going on because so much is coming into our inbox currently. And as much as I like the new website, sometimes having it in real life and being able to take a moment and ponder what's going on, add it to your calendar when you're staring at it is beneficial. But I could just be old school.
Thank you. Were you going to say something?
I do think, in my experience working for the city and also working with the city clerk and the director over here, if there's a request made for this documentation, people are pretty responsive and facilitate those requests, and we would still be available to facilitate a request for someone who's elderly and unable to get it. We would get it, email it over to Karen if we needed to, and she would get it to them, or email it over to someone here who's making the request. There's plenty of ways that we can get that information to people, but I also want, when it was posted in Old City Hall and when it was posted when you walked right into 110 Pleasant Street, it took up the entire wall. So it was very hard to pinpoint, I want the city council agenda and find it along that wall because there were stacks and stacks and stacks of postings there. So people would ask for it anyway. And it's our job to make sure they get it. So that's just another consideration. They still do post planning board up there, and they still do post a couple of the meetings that they're required to post up there. But we are available to answer those questions for constituents that are having difficulty either getting in there or wanting a copy of something, and we really do that on a regular basis. So that might be another option to let people know that.
Thank you. Thank you. And on behalf of the chair, I too agree with Councilor Murphy. I think that the beautiful new City Hall will look horrible if we post every meeting on the new tiled walls that are over there. I think, if anything, we shouldn't be ordering the city clerk, but maybe having a conversation with the senior center director to post at least the council meetings back on the doors over here. This was implemented supposedly July 1st, and I don't know about any of my fellow councilors, but I have not received one complaint from any of my constituents as to, the first I heard of this problem was when I saw it on the docket the other day when I opened it up. So I'm not sure how many people this is actually affecting, but there are more and more seniors that are navigating the webs. Like I have grandmothers, my grandmother's friends are on Facebook commenting on my pictures. I'm sure if they needed to see what was happening at the city council meeting, they could find their way over to City of Malden and find the meeting that was posted. So I do not support this paper, and those are my 2 cents. So, Councilor O'Malley, what would you like to do with this paper? Councilor Anderson? Okay.
So I guess I would. I don't really. It sounds like we're kind of a mixed bag, so I don't really know how this is going to go. But I'm encouraged to move the question, so I will move to approve, hoping for a second.
On Councilor O'Malley's motion to adopt, seconded by Councilor Anderson. Should we do a roll call? The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson. Kamel. Condon. Crow. DeMaria. Linehan.
Flip-flop.
Murphy. O'Malley.
Yeah.
Sika.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. That was nice. Can I have a high five?
You got me so confused with your yep that I said yes because I wanted to correct you. I apologize. I wanted to be a no. In my mind, I was thinking of your yep.
I was thinking that was so nice
You caught
of
me
you.
off guard with the yep, and I wanted to say yes because you said yep. So the paper fails. Sorry, Councilor O'Malley. Okay, next order of business.
Under committee reports, rules and ordinance, paper 64-19, be it hereby ordained that section 11.35 of the revised ordinances of 2020 be amended relative to enforcement. Under 2.A point, after supervisory personnel add each 24-hour period during which a violation exists shall constitute a separate offense, punishable by the imposition of an additional fine. Further amended relative language change 1C, the word reasonable be added after every and before attempt.
On Councilor Crow's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The committee report is received. Councilor Crow for the committee.
Thank you, Madam President. This is relative to snow removal, our snow removal ordinance. We had some discussion with the Board of Health, who is actually the people that oversee sort of compliance around the snow removal, and it was the every 24-hour period was not in the ordinance, so we need to add that language back in that should have been in there. And Assistant Solicitor Rossetti had said that we really should put the word reasonable, as it says, after every and before attempt, so it's every reasonable attempt, and that really had a lot more to do with people opening up the handicap ramps, and it make it every reasonable attempt, but not just because understanding how difficult it can be, especially if those plows come around a few times on a corner street, every reasonable attempt is made. So we actually just changed those and cleaned up the language, and so that was voted out unanimously, and I encourage the council to do the same.
Okay, no lights. Oh, Councilor Murphy.
Could someone refresh me what the fines are?
Oh.
Sometimes I think we get a little too punitive, so I just like to know what the fines are.
You think you remember?
I do not off the top of my head, I do not.
First one is a warning.
The first one's a warning.
The first one's a warning. feel like 50. 50. Anybody? No?
Off the top of my head.
I've never got one.
Me either.
That's less than hiring a shuttle.
Any luck, Ryan?
And just as Council Matt is looking that up, I think the reason to put reasonable in is just saying every attempt will be made. And so it was like, you have to make it reasonable. Otherwise it means you had to have done something. You mean, so it just gave, I think, enforcement some more latitude to say, just didn't say every attempt, but every reasonable attempt. So if there is some extenuating circumstances, it was not even maybe someone's physical abilities, prohibited them, but just that the snow was really very high, and they made some attempt at the beginning, and they just could not, get any more. And again, this piece was really about the handicap ramps.
Okay. I don't know about, we're talking about what we hear from constituents, and I know Councilor Crowe, you've recently had a discussion with a constituent. I'm all for walkability in clearing the sidewalks, et cetera, but we do have a lot of senior people. We do have a lot of people in this city who feel the city owns the sidewalks, and, it's, all of a sudden we're putting the burden on them. So now we're asking them so a corner house that has a sidewalk on two sides of the streets that has a handicap ramp going out into the street, we're now asking them as part of this to shovel. Or are they going to be fined? Is that what you're saying?
No, actually, that is already in there, and it was
Okay.
really, we talked about around education. People wanted more stronger language that required people to open them up, but again, that was the debate that we had in ordinance to say, how are you going to do? You can't really do that. What about the person that is older or even younger, but just really can't open those up? So a lot of this was around education, and it was to encourage. If you kind of adopt a fire hydrant, shovel out a fire hydrant, but you don't get fined if you don't shovel out a fire hydrant that is in front of you. Some of the snow ordinance, the first part, the reasonable attempt was really about the handicap ramp. The other, just for some reason, got eliminated somehow, that every 24-hour, anybody else that's on ordinance, remember that? That any 24-hour just on your sidewalks constitutes a second offense. That's always been in there. It just, for some reason, when they added some other things, that got eliminated, so it was putting that back in there to make sure it is in there, and then the reasonable.
Okay, so we're asking people to adopt the handicap ramp, or we're asking?
No.
Well, all right.
I'm trying to figure this out, so.
Okay, Councilor Murphy, really fast.
Yep.
The compliance officer believes it's a warning, $50 and $100. First is a warning.
Okay.
Then when they go back after they've received a warning, it's 50. Then when they go back again, it's another 100.
Okay, and then it stays 100 after that?
I didn't ask that. It stays 100. It stays 100. Yep. If that helps. Councilor Kamel.
Yeah, so I just want to be clear. What's in front of us tonight doesn't change that or even stiffen it. So the every 24-hour period during which a violation exists, that is in the ordinances for other types of things. That it's a necessary clarification to even define what a violation is. We have to put it in there, or else. And this isn't just about the handicap ramps. This is the entire ordinance itself. If we don't have that, it does not have the ability to even be enforced because it's not defined what a violation exists. Is it every time the ordinance, the compliance folks go by, or is it every day? Is it every snowstorm? Is it every season? So that needs to be in there. Separately from that, the word reasonable in regard to the handicap ramps and crosswalks actually softens and makes the ordinance more reasonable, because the way it reads right now, the way it could be enforced is every effort means you have to do it no matter what. Every reasonable effort actually puts some restraint on what we are asking people to even do. One of the things we did not move forward with was another language change that was discussed during ordinance that stiffened the word should to the word shall. Every reasonable effort shall be made. Right now it says should be made, which actually is even softer language. We did not go with the shall because we, as Councilor Crowe alluded to, we want to make sure this is a basis for us to educate our residents, but also be cognizant of the fact that either through physical limitations or financial limitations, you can't hire someone to shovel. We do have to observe the reality of what's happening. We can't always make this happen. So the way it is going to be after these changes gives our compliance folks the latitude or the to assess the situation on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy. The compliance guy also said that it's a 24-hour period, so after every 24 hours, they can be fined an additional $100, and commercial properties go up to $200, and they only have 12 hours to remove the snow. It's a separate piece, yes. Okay. Councilor O'Malley.
So I was unable to make the ordinance meeting during this discussion last week, so I appreciate the work that was done. I'm of the belief that I'm in full support of the ordinance that is being proposed, and I believe we will pick up that discussion in ordinance about the rest of it. But I'm in full belief that if you own property and you have a corner or a crosswalk, it's your duty to make sure that that's clear, so that elderly people who are pushing carriages and their children coming to and from work, etc., school, have a clearer path and aren't walking the street. This might impact my ward more than others because of how walkable it is, in the fact that it's right near the two train stations. But I don't think it's asking our residents too much to clear crosswalks. And when there are circumstances that I have an elderly resident that lives on a corner that does have a crosswalk, and because of the way plowing occurred, the crosswalk has been plowed in, and they're unable to clear that crosswalk, if they contact me or if they contact the DPW, I do know that our team is ready and willing to get out there and clean that out with a bobcat or with some type of excavator. So there is ways that we can do this. It's definitely utilizing the city of Malden when you are in a predicament like that. It is utilizing your ward counselor when you're in a situation like that. But the answer is not to just let that corner stay blocked so that people are walking in the street. That's dangerous. And we are lucky that we haven't had a fatality or something worse resulting from that type of blockage. And I hope we never do. But I do think it's important that if you are able-bodied, you are out there clearing your sidewalk in a timely manner. You're out there clearing the crosswalk in a time, not the entire crosswalk, just the ramp to the crosswalk. And if you have a resident that is in the vicinity of your home that you know is unable to do that, do the right thing and try to help them out. We can't legislate morality by any means, but I do think that we can encourage people to act the right way. And lead a best example. So I do appreciate the work that we are doing, and I'm fully in support with what is being proposed tonight.
Thank you. Councilor DiMaria.
Thank you, Madam President. And first, I want to thank the Ordinance Committee for the hard work amending this paper, along with the Assistant City Solicitor and our compliance guys. But I think what might be helpful to solve some of these problems is if just making a motion, if we could table this and have the complete ordinance in front of us with the redlined amendments that are being proposed. I think it might help some of the councilors to actually have the complete updated proposed ordinance, since it affects all of us citywide, so.
It's
think
not a
it's
proposed ordinance.
Time sensitive, though, isn't it?
I mean, we're
a little late as it is.
It's not really a proposed ordinance. It was just cleaning up two areas of the language.
Proposed amendment, though, to the
Right.
ordinance, right?
So the amendment is only to add the language about every 24 hours, which is what they need to, again, as Councilor Kamel had eloquently pointed out, what's the trigger? Is it every 10 hours, every 12 hours, every time I look at the place? Then just the reasonable. And I think our city solicitor, assistant city solicitor said that's a softer, and it allows the compliance people more discretion. So we could table it, and then we won't have she can make that motion.
Yeah, I would like to make a tabling motion, even if we bring it to the floor during the committee of the whole next week. It's a 1 week, and I think it would behoove all of us to see the redlined ordinance with the proposed amendments that you've worked so hard on. So that's my motion.
And I'll second it.
We have a motion to table on the floor.
1 week.
I was.
No, senior council needs to be in that chair. I'd like to wait till she comes back.
Councilor Kamel.
Senior person takes the chair.
Council President is back.
Making a comment, or do you want to wait till she gets back?
We should wait till she gets back.
Council President, there's a tabling motion on the floor by me for a 1 week reprieve, so that all the hard work that's been done in committee come out with the complete ordinance for all of us with the redlined proposed amendment. So it's just a 1 week tabling motion for that, and Councilor Murphy's seconded that. So
Okay. On Councilor DeMaria's, is everybody done speaking? I'm sorry, Councilor O'Reilly. Oh, Councilor Kamel?
Takes precedence, so I can't say anything.
Okay.
it would be a roll call.
Tabling motion takes precedence.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Tabling motion takes precedence.
Okay, so on Councilor DeMaria's motion to table for 1 week, seconded by Councilor Murphy, the clerk will call the roll.
Anderson. Yes. Kamel. No. Condon. Yes. Crow.
No.
DeMaria.
Yes.
Linehan.
No.
Murphy.
Yes.
O'Malley. No. Seeker.
No.
Noes passed 5-4. Motion fails.
Councilor O'Malley.
I'll defer to Councilor Kamel. He was next. He was next up. Yeah, I think this is time sensitive. I move to adopt.
Second. On Councilor O'Malley's motion to enroll this ordinance.
Anderson. Yes. Kamel. Yes. Condon. Yes. Crow. Yes. DeMaria. No. Linehan. Yes. Murphy. No. O'Malley. Yes. Seeker.
Yes. Are we ordaining tonight? No? You're fine? Okay. The matter has been enrolled. Next order of business.
Committee report on rules and ordinance, paper 283-19, may it ordain that section of the revised ordinances of 2020 be amended relative to the council's special permit fee. that the council's special permit fee for marijuana establishments be set at $750.
On Councilor Crow's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The committee report is received. Councilor Crow for the committee.
Thank you, Madam President. This again was just an oversight actually now as people are looking to submit special permit applications. In our ordinance, we neglected to say what the special permit fee would be to apply for a special permit. So this is in line with planning board special permits, both the other special permits. So we just want to make sure that it's in the ordinance so it's clear and it's in the same schedule. So make a motion to enroll.
Okay, Councilor Kamel.
So just in terms of clarifying, and the purpose for this is to go towards all the time it does to go into the cities looking into these applications, and in that sense, as soon as this is started, we're already kind of on the clock, and so I want to make an amendment that this is a non-refundable fee, to add that language, non-refundable. Council set the special permit fee. Where would we put that? Set at $750.
Non-refundable, but
I think they're already non-refundable.
Well, I'm gonna make the motion to amend to add 750 after 750 the words non-refundable.
Okay. Second.
Second.
On Councilor Kamel's motion to amend the ordinance to include non-refundable after the fee of $750, seconded by Councilor Crow. All the clerk will call the roll.
Anderson. Yes. Kamel.
Yes.
Condon. Yes. Crow.
Yes.
Di Maria. Yes. Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy. Yes. O'Malley.
Yes.
Sika.
Yes.
Make a motion to enroll as amended.
On Councilor Crow's motion to enroll the order as amended, seconded by Councilor Kamel. Clerk will call the roll.
Anderson. Yes. Kamel. Yes. Condon. Yes. Crow.
Yes.
Di Maria. Yes. Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy. Yes. O'Malley. Sika.
Yes. The ordinance is enrolled. Next order of business.
Yeah, no, I gotta catch
Finally.
up there. Committee report on public property, paper 381-19A, Celco Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless, vendor Nexus Solutions, Inc., small cell petition for 21 Pine Street, Malden, Mass.
On Councilor O'Malley's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? All those opposed? The committee report is received. Councilor O'Malley for the committee.
Thank you, Madam President. This is related to a holdover of a small cell antenna that is petitioned at 21 Pine Street. I unfortunately was unable to attend this meeting. I wasn't feeling well, but a member of the committee, Councilor Linehan, was able to. So if I could defer to her to explain what the discussion in the committee.
Sure. Councilor Linehan.
Yes, and I apologize. I actually came late to this meeting, but it was Councilor Winslow and I's recommendation that we move forward with these two petitions to install small cell. I actually don't have the grid of how many there are with me, but I think there's, I don't know, Councilor O'Malley, if you remember. Just for one.
On Pine Street.
Just for 21 Pine Street. Okay. So is our recommendation that we move forward with approval for the small cell petition for 21 Pine Street?
So I would second that motion.
Okay. On Councilor Linehan's motion to grant this petition, seconded by Councilor O'Malley, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The petition is granted. Next order of business. Councilor Murphy.
Yes, I'd like to suspend docket rules this evening for the purpose of granting Class 1, 2, and 3 dealer licenses that are impacting the ability of our businesses to continue operating. I make a motion to suspend docket rules.
Councilor Murphy's motion to suspend docket rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The rules have been suspended.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to kind of give everybody a little primer on Class 1, Class 2, and 3 dealers. If you remember, in this past fall, we made a number of changes to the ordinance in order to change the fees that were charged and also requirements that were required in order for a dealer to receive an application or to put forth an application and be considered for a license. We are requiring queries now on all of our dealers. It is a state law that they must supply a bond. They also need dealer plates. We have gone through all of the applications that have come in, and we have a number that can be approved tonight pending they're complying with sending in a certified plot plan that's acceptable to the building department and the fire department. Now, you might ask why we have this particular condition. We're not bringing forth anyone who put in an application and did not supply the required documents that we requested. But what's happened is we've found many of the plot plans are not in conformance of being certified plot plans. We've had our building commissioner review them all, and they all have failed to meet the standard. So after looking at that and realizing that we put basically every dealer in the city out of business, okay, as a committee, we've decided that the best way to move forward is to put forth to ask to grant the licenses for those who have complied with everything else, the application, the fees, the queries, the bond, the dealer's plates. And we're going to give them 90 days to submit a certified plot plan that will then be approved by the two departments that I recognized. We have a number of letters going out to the other applicants telling them what they're missing. They will be coming in at a later date. But we would, it was voted unanimously out of the license committee to move forward in this fashion to allow our dealers to continue to operate and not totally destroy their businesses while we had to wait to get this done. So we have quite a laundry list that our city clerk is going to read. We have 2 Class 1 dealers, I believe, I don't even know how many at this point, Class 2 dealers, and 2 Class 3 dealers that will be asking to grant the petitions on this evening. Yes, and just for reference, a Class 1 dealer is someone selling new cars, a Class 2 dealer is someone selling used vehicles, and a Class 3 dealer is a salvage yard that could have some cars being sold out of it also.
Yeah. You got my text a couple hours ago, sorry. Just so you know. It's, while we were in license, I sent it to you.
Okay. I can't.
Just so you know.
Okay, I'll figure it out on the way.
You're good.
Okay. So, having said all that, if our city clerk would begin reading our laundry list of dealers, it would be great.
Bear with me, and I'm out of water, but we'll do the best we can.
I'll go get you one.
410-19, Class 1, Absolute Auto Renter Sales, 495 Broadway, changing from Class 2 to Class 1. 416-19, Class 2, Cullen Brothers, Inc., 61 Clinton Street, Malden, 2 cars.
City clerk, may I just say one thing? We will be skipping over some names, just so if when you're following along with the docket, we don't read a name, it's because they didn't conform with what we needed. So just don't, okay, thank you.
430-19, Class 2, River Auto Sales, Inc., 77 Eastern Ave, Malden, 25 cars, renewal. 431-19, Class 2, Saga Auto Sales and Service, Inc., 449 Ferry Street, 15 cars, it's a renewal. 432-19, thank you. Class 2, Skips Auto Service, Inc., 74 Highland Ave, 12 cars, it's a renewal. 433-19, Class 2, Smart Buy USA, 497 Broadway, Malden, 27 cars, it's a renewal. 434-19, Class 2, Wentworth Auto Sales, 730 Eastern Ave, Malden, 15 cars, a renewal. 417-19, Class 2, dealer, One Motors, 77 Broadway, Malden, 48 cars, it's a renewal. 418-19, Class 2, Greenleaf Auto Sales, Inc., 28 Broadway, Malden, 55 cars, renewal. 419-19, Class 2, Greenleaf Auto Sales 2, Inc., 69 Newland Street, Malden, 37 cars, renewal. 420-19, Class 2, Hub Starters and Alternators, Inc., 172 Broadway, 4 cars, it's a renewal. Class 2, Joe Champa Auto Body, Inc., 322 Eastern Ave, Malden, 4 cars, it's a renewal. Class 2, John Service, 200 Beach Street, Malden, 15 cars, it's a renewal. Class 2, Linden Automotive, Inc., 121 Beach Street, Malden, 19 cars, it's a renewal. Class 2, Louis Foreign Car Garage, Inc., 191 Salem Street, 3 cars, it's a renewal. Class 2, Malden Auto Sales, 147 Ferry Street, 25 cars, it's a renewal. Class 2, Maxima Auto Sales, 105 Broadway, Malden, 31 cars, it's a renewal. Class 2, AGM Auto Sales, Inc., 135 Eastern Ave, Malden, 15 cars, it's a renewal. Class 2, Auto Bazaar Corp., 17 Charles Street, 21 cars, a renewal. Class 2, Broadway Auto Sales, 628 Broadway, 0 cars, renewal. Class 2, C&P Imports, 595 Broadway, 0 cars, it's a renewal. Class 2, Prestige Motors of Malden, Inc., 600 Broadway, 67 cars, it's a renewal. Class 2, Richards Motors, Inc., 672 Broadway, 80 cars, it's a renewal. Class 2, Quincy Auto Sales, 856 Eastern Ave, 0 cars, a renewal. Class 2, Next Level Motors, Inc., previously Malden Auto Brokers 2, 189 Eastern Ave, 35 cars, name change and renewal. Class 2, Andy Service Center, Inc., 356 Lebanon Street, 3 cars, a renewal. Class 2, Autotech, Inc., 1236 Eastern Ave, 5 cars, it's a renewal. Class 2, Regano's Towing, Inc., 1081 Fellsway, 20 cars, a renewal. Class 3, Malden Broadway Auto Body, 590 Broadway, renewal. Class 3, Malden Middlesex Motor Sales, Inc., 129 Charles Street, renewal.
Okay. Motion to grant the petitions.
1 second. I usually recuse myself from regardless. Yeah. So, but you just did them all at once. I was going to ask to recuse myself from the vote. Regano's is my uncle. I usually recuse myself from voting on anything related to him. So since you took them all at bulk, I'll just recuse myself from all of them? Okay. So he doesn't have to do that all over again? Yeah, that's fine. Neil, can you...
First question on the request by Council President Sika to recuse herself from the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. You have been recused. On the granting of those read, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Those have been granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I love him. I know.
Next order of business.
I know. I love him.
Let's see the executive session, Bob.
Executive session. You want to
This-
cancel this first?
Yeah.
Councilor O'Malley.
The second executive session, I'd like to withdraw.
On Councilor O'Malley's request to withdraw the second executive session, all those in favor? All those opposed? It's been withdrawn. Next order of business.
Under executive session, the City Council will vote to go into executive session with legal counsel for the City Council in accordance with Exemption 1, Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, 21A1, and Exemption 7, Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, 21A7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant in aid requirements in order to act on a pending complaint of January 13, 2020 by Brian DeLacy against the Malden City Council under the Open Meeting Law, Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A and 23B, amended from previous posting of January 24, 2020.
Thank you. City Solicitor Fallon.
Thank you, Council. I would request that the Council allow me to address the Council in the open session regarding this complaint and not vote to go into executive session. You do have the right to go into executive session, but I hope that we can, in keeping with the past practice, just address it on the floor.
Do we need to vote on that?
I don't think so. I was just asking you not to vote to go into executive session.
Is everybody okay with that?
It's
okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. And as the city clerk stated, this is an open meeting law complaint that was filed by Mr. DeLacy, whose complaints we've addressed previously on the floor, and this pertains to the January 6th meeting of the council during the inaugural ceremonies. And so in review of this complaint, which you've obviously had, I'm just going to break it down as quickly as I can, because you've been here for a while. Essentially, this is what facts I've gleaned from my investigation of the complaint. Notice of the January 6, 2020 meeting was posted on the city website on January 2nd, 2020 in compliance with the law. The complaint asserts that the violation occurred because the meeting wasn't posted where the complainant typically sees it in Legistar. However, the complaint, the notice of the meeting was posted on the city website and was accessible, and it's actually even attached to the complaint itself. The meeting was a public meeting of the City Council convened for the purposes of selecting the council president for the 2020 council term. The complaint asserts a violation because there was no specified location and time of the meeting, but the posting of the meeting, which was attached to the complaint itself, states that the meeting will be held at the Malden High School during a recess of the inaugural ceremony. So it's quite specific. If the council intended to go into executive session, we have discussed this multiple times in multiple different variations, but there are very specific exemptions, and they have to be noted on the agenda. And just like this evening, they are specifically noticed. That's the council's required open meeting law practice. And in this instance, there was no basis to go into executive session, and it was your typical January organizational meeting of the council. So the complaint asserts that there was a violation because the meeting notice itself doesn't state it's an open meeting, open to the public. However, the notice, again, that's attached to the complaint indicates that the council is going to be meeting. It doesn't have to specify this is a public meeting. The notice itself is notification to the public of the open meeting. And again, that is pretty specific and attached to the complaint. It does not say that it's a private or closed door or executive session meeting. Furthermore, it was announced publicly during the inaugural ceremony that the council and the school committee were going to take a leave of the ceremonies in order to hold their organizational meetings. The complaint itself asserts that the city council was called to retire for purposes of organization and election of a president. So that was also additionally stated during the course of the inauguration, in addition to being posted. Following the announcement, the council did absent itself from the ceremonies for the purposes of convening, as did the school committee for their organizational meetings. It's my understanding that, as they typically do, both of those bodies met in side classrooms that were adjacent to the auditorium. They were easily accessible to members of the public. They were not executive session meetings. Anyone had the ability to follow the council in there, follow the school committee in there, and attend the meetings. And I know there was my understanding was there was a lot of commotion because of the participants in the inaugural ceremony were in the hallway. So at one point, the door may have been closed. However, it wasn't prohibiting anyone from coming in, and it wasn't closed door as the law prohibits, as though it's an executive session meeting. So anyone still could have come in, and I have confirmed with the city clerk and the clerk of committees that there wasn't anyone that appeared to come into the meeting or want to come into the meeting or attempted to access the meeting. I can't speak for the school committee, which is also named in the complaint, but I can speak to what I've investigated with respect to this one as far as the council. The doors to the classrooms additionally had posted which classroom the council was meeting in and which classroom the school committee had met in, and they were obviously meeting in separate meetings to conduct their business. Again, the council did not meet in executive session or lock the door to the meeting room. The only business that the council conducted was the election of the council president. The minutes that you approved earlier reflect that this was a 9-minute meeting during which that was the only business conducted. And the genesis of this complaint for a closed-door session is actually based on statements that were made in the press, as well as a statement by Councilor Anderson that it's quoted in there that they had a private session meeting to decide who would lead the council. So the complainant has asserted that annually the city council has violated the open meeting law because of those statements that were cited in the complaint, and that this is an alleged ongoing violation. I know from my service on the council that that's factually inaccurate, and during this investigation it was determined that wasn't a closed door private executive session. No one was allowed to access the meeting. So we also can't speak for the press and what the press decides to report in its papers as whatever was a surprise to the press or what have you. I'm not going to answer for them. The actions that are sought only pertain to the council, even though the complaint is alleged against the school committee and the council. And I think it's important to note that though the statement is made by Councilor Anderson actually told everybody that they elected Councilor Seeker. So this wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a secret. He actually stated to the public the business that had just been conducted. So implicit in that statement it basically obviates the allegation that there's a secret, because he just revealed the business of the council to the public when you joined the inaugural ceremonies thereafter. So once you returned to the auditorium, you told everybody what you had just done. So there is no secret to what had transpired, and there's no closed door deliberation. So again, I did receive a copy of the notice of the meeting. You did just approve your minutes. I'd ask the council to allow the legal department, as we typically do, to provide this recitation of facts. They already have the notice of the meeting, which was attached to the complaint, and anything else that the council wants us to do to respond to that. We do have a specific window of time to answer to that, which we're still well within.
Thank you. Any questions? A motion?
Motion to allow the city solicitor's office to respond in accordance with what they just said.
Okay, on Councilor Anderson's motion to allow the city solicitor's office to respond to the open meeting law complaint, seconded by Councilor Kamel. All those in favor? All those opposed? It's been passed. Thank you. Docket is clear. We have personal privilege. Anyone? Don't all jump at once. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you. A couple of things. One very important item, because elections that are off cycle often go unnoticed. And I was actually speaking with a constituent from another town that when I mentioned something, they said to me the other day, "Oh, that's what that's all about." So I just want to make sure that at least Ward 5, Precinct 2 knows that on Tuesday, February 4th, please come out and vote for the next state representative that is going to represent us. Representative Brodeur is now mayor of Melrose, and his seat is being filled. Representative Brodeur was a great supporter of Ward 5-2, and we need to show support for whoever his replacement is going to be, which we won't know until the primary is decided, who will go, on to the next final election. But I would like whomever that is to know that Ward 5-2 is an active community, that we do come out and vote, that we are interested in this election, and we are looking forward to meeting with our next state representative. So I hope you will join me in voting on February 4th, Tuesday, February 4th, at the Forestdale School. The election will be held in the library as opposed to the gymnasium where you're used to going, because school will be in session. So once again, normal voting hours, but it will be in the Forestdale School Library. Thank you. And lastly, I'd just like to once again announce that the Junior Aid Association of Malden is having their annual Valentine Derby, and it is being held at Anthony's February 9th. It's open to the general public. Tickets are $40. If you have any interest in coming or you'd like a ticket, you can contact Councilor DiMaria, myself, or Councilor Crowe, who are all members. So we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor DiMaria.
And may the best horse win, right? Thank you, Madam President. So I think what I'd like to talk about tonight is there's been some breaking and entering across the city, and I think I'm going to ask each resident to make sure their doors of their cars are locked, whether you're in the driveway or on the street. It seems that there's a little trend going on, which started in Ward 3. It's moved to Ward 4. It's hit Ward 5, and it's also hit Ward 6. So it really is a citywide problem. Some of these burglars have been caught on camera at around 5:45 in the morning, so it's the wee hours of the morning. So while our men in blue are doing a fantastic job, let's give them a little help and just make sure we lock our doors across the city. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to let the city know that is it tomorrow? Tomorrow, Wednesday, the 29th. No, is that true? No, it's a lie. Thursday, the 30th of January at 6:30, the Malden River Works will have a meeting here at the Senior Center. I hope I didn't. And so we definitely want to make sure that there's a great attendance to that. And my second announcement isn't as exciting. I'd like to do a moment of silence, and I don't do many of these, for Joyce E. Nelson, a longtime Malden resident. Her maiden name is DeVitz. She grew up in Ward 2. Most recently lived on Salem Street in Ward 6. She did pass away. She was a graduate of Malden High School, class of 1964. She enjoyed summers in Windham, New Hampshire. I'd just like to do a moment of silence in memory of Joyce. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilor DiMaria reminded me in her personal privilege about the break-ins, and I want to just tell you that I got a strange call about a week ago, and someone called. We get an awful lot of robocalls, and in this call,
oh, you need more.
Called me by name. They called me Neil, and when I was trying to figure out who it was, he described himself as my grandson. And so it just didn't fit. And I called Captain Gatcomb to ask if there were other similar calls that have been coming in like that around the city, if the police department was hearing any reports. And it appeared to me that what this person was doing was calling and asking, well, what are you going to be doing today? To try to get from me whether I was going to be at home or whether I was going to leave my house. And I'm no detective, but it just appeared to me that this person was casing my home to see if I was going to be home, perhaps trying to break in or what have you. So what I did hear from Captain Gatcomb is that there is some of those calls that are going on. So my telling the story is to say to you all and to the public that be aware of these scams that go on. You know, in this case, it was clear to me that the person was calling and asking, acting like this person was related to me, and really trying to find out if I was going to be at the house throughout the day. And I'm sure they were just trying to find out if I was going to be home and maybe even considering breaking in. So just a word to the wise. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else?
That's right, because I'm an elderly person. That's why they will call it. Thank you, Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson. And just to let you know, Councilor DiMaria, that has also happened in Ward 8. It happened at my house. They went through John's pickup truck in my driveway and took all his change, and he had quite a bit of change. Thank God they did leave his tools. So they're only looking for little things that they don't need to carry. So as much, he doesn't believe in locking his truck until now. He thinks we live in this great neighborhood. And I yell at him all the time. I'm like, you really need to start locking your doors. And a week ago, Monday, he came and he's like, somebody got in my truck. Like they rummaged through the whole middle console and found he had like a little bag of change that he just kept throwing change in. And so it is happening in Ward 8 too. So it's happening all over the place. So, and my cameras did not catch it. They came on the side, the opposite side of where they were, down the driveway next to his pickup truck. So we didn't get to catch them, but it is happening in Ward 8 too. Do we have a man? Excuse me. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Madam President. Just really quickly, the Malden Warming Center is having its next volunteer training on Saturday morning. I know Karen Hayes has reached out to a lot of city employees and other volunteers from the past to reiterate that there's a really urgent need for volunteers right now. The current team is getting close to burning out. They've expanded their hours a lot this year, which is a great thing for the community, and they're serving almost 20 people every night overnight who would otherwise be on the street. But in order to volunteer to help, you need to undergo a training, and it's drop-in. You don't have to register ahead, but it's at First Church of the Nazarene. I think it's 529 Eastern Ave. It's 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday, and it just goes over guest relations, kind of what the duties are, Narcan training, and just how-tos on how you can pitch in. And I think the greatest need is for the overnight shift. So I think if anybody that's been waiting for an opportunity to volunteer, this is a good time. You do have to do the training before you can volunteer at the center.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Councilor DiMaria's motion to adjourn, seconded by Councilor Murphy. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The meeting has been adjourned. Good night.